Are we ready? Well, Neil just appeared behind the door and saw me and went out again.
Well, he has seen this before.
Yeah, yes. Do you think we're ready? Yeah. Hello. My name's Ian Horrocks, and I work for TCM. And first of all, just a statistic. Ben kindly told us how many days this morning he'd worked on NonStop. How many was it, Ben?
340.
Well, thanks to that function equals today in Excel, today is my 13,299th day working on NonStop. And I know there's people in this room who've done more. So there we are. Anyway, my name's Ian Horrocks. I work for TCM. We're an independent system management company. We do project work, we do all sorts. But what we're going to talk to you about today is a couple of new initiatives that we've taken and got. They are TCM Insight and a SimSwap fraud protection service. And I'm going to be assisted by Andy and Chris. I'm doing the intro, the middle bit, and the outro. There's some interesting slides that, perhaps we'll turn to the audience to help me interpret. But on the new type of stuff, but without further ado, we'll get on with it. Just a quick introduction to TCM, for those that don't know who we are. We're a dedicated non-stop service expert. We've existed for 26 years this year. We design, deliver bespoke service solutions to non-stop customers around the globe, and we've done Asia Pac, we've done North America, we've done EMEA for many years, and UK. That's a still from our video that we had produced last year, but please go to our website and have a look at it. I'm told it's very good. I think it's impressive. And it's just a sort of schematic to talk about the outreach that NonStop has. We do on-site and remote services. Obviously, remote services have become more to the fore in the last 2 years. It's been very successful. We've never lost a customer. We've never failed an SLA. We believe we're flexible, responsive, adaptable, and we're a trusted partner, part of the team. We preserve non-stop knowledge, and we are an HP Silver partner. And there's the link to the video. So take the note. Do watch the video. It's very impressive. The first, that's our company schematic, and that sort of summarizes everything we do. I'm not going to read it out line by line, but basically it's an end-to-end set of support services. And we can do bespoke as well. Now, the first thing I want to speak about is TCM Insight, which Andy is going to now take over and speak about. And without further ado.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ian. Lovely to see some familiar faces. For those of you who don't know me, Andy Vasey. I'm now a services business consultant for TCM. I've been doing that for a couple of years now and quite enjoying life. I had actually retired from HPE after 33 years. So now moved into TCM. The main reason behind it is because I missed NonStop. I missed this community so much. And it's lovely to be back. This is my first event since leaving HPE. So, yeah, tremendous. So for today, just want to talk about Insight, what it is, why, more importantly, why we did it, and where we think it can be used. So skipping straight through to TCM Insight itself. What we really wanted to provide was a snapshot of a customer system. Now, I know I've spoken to many customers over the years who have gone through sort of health check type scenarios. They come back with this 50, 60-page report on what a customer system looks like. And where does that actual report end up? Typically on a shelf gathering dust. Most people, certainly when you look at the senior management, they don't have time to either read it, and if they did start to read it, most of the time they just really wouldn't understand it. Certainly if you're working at sort of a level above NonStop, a senior management level. So what we wanted to do was put together, say, this snapshot and effectively provide a comprehensive report that's going to be legible to both a system manager level, but also something that they can take up to their management, something that is tangible of what's actually happening with their NonStop system. So basically, how does it work? So again, it's really important to us from a customer's perspective. We want them to have as little interaction as possible. This thing has got to be easy for them. So we initiate a short, comprehensive click-through audit. And that's the first stage. As I say, it's minimal customer impact. It doesn't take up very much of your time. But we all know that we can get as much information out of a system that you can. I mean, you can get reams and reams and reams of it. But then we need to interpret that. And you can't really interpret it unless you have that conversation with the customer. So part of that program is also a conversation with the customer prior to us doing any analysis. And that's basically all about how a customer is using their system, where it's being used, have they had difficulties, etc. But it's not intrusive. So in order, it will just literally take a few days. It has to be a quick turnaround. Otherwise, a customer may think, if it takes weeks and weeks, half the time they would have probably forgotten about the requirement in the first place. So this was actually put together not just with TCM. We took the original theory back into HPE, and we've worked extensively with our colleagues, our friends with HPE, to come up with the final Insight product. So first of all, we obviously go off and gather data. There is a short questionnaire that the customer fills in, very brief. Following that, literally all we need the customer to do is press a button. Then a set of scripts will run, produce some data, which TCM will then access via a secure web server, and we have the technical expertise then to take that data and analyze it. Obviously, some of the guys working for TCM, they've been around for eons, extremely clever guys, and these are the ones who will actually produce the final report. I'm not going to go through these scripts because, quite honestly, I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm purely business. I have no idea about the technical stuff that goes on behind it. But in essence, I know it's a script, and I know they gather data from the script. So just a couple of examples of what we're looking at. And then, as I say, after we've actually run that script, then we have a short questionnaire. We do that with the customer, as I said earlier, just to find out exactly what it is that they're doing. And then, as I say, the TCM experts will then take that data, take the information that they have from the questionnaire with the customer, and then we'll build a report based on best practice. Effectively, report, rate, recommend, review. So we provide the report based on an 18-point criteria. And as I say, this thing has actually grown. I'm not sure if you actually noticed on the first slide. You may have noticed I quickly flicked over it. That's because on the first one, it actually says it's a 14-point. But again, all these things go through many reiterations. We think we're now at a level where it's not going to get much better than this. So we're trying to stick with 18. If we extend it beyond 18, then again, the report gets to become too bulky and then sometimes meaningless to actually what it is that we're trying to achieve. As mentioned earlier, what we need to do is make a report that's going to be legible by both the system manager and his superiors effectively. So what we'd like to do is build a traffic light system, red, amber and green. So that's the initial first page that the customer would see. And then we go through, we list out the 18 points. Sometimes it's a green, sometimes it's going to be amber, sometimes it is actually going to be red. And we base all of our findings, obviously, on best practice. Once we've done this, we produce the report, we present it. It's worth nothing unless we have the conversation with the customer to run through the 18 points that we have. And once we've done that, there's a tick in the box, job done. And hopefully we have a very happy customer. Because I'm firmly of the belief that our NonStop customers, if they're happy with their NonStop platform, customers will stay on that platform. Unfortunately, one of the reasons why customers may be tempted to move away is sometimes it's senior management not having an understanding of what the NonStop system is doing for them. So a happy customer is really what we're after. And we go through the recommended actions. Now bear in mind that a green is not suggesting a waste of time, why did we do it? A green's obviously very positive. A green is everything is good, everything's cool. Sometimes we're going to say it's a red. Now a red could be, a customer's doing okay. This is okay, it just about meets best practice, but there may be room for improvement. It might be the fact that a customer maybe is using an out-of-date tool, whatever the case may be, but it's always recommendations. And in some cases, certainly if we get reds, then that's a cause for, I'm not necessarily saying a cause for alarm, but certainly a cause for maybe deeper investigation. So obviously the key features, it is inexpensive. I mean, pricing is always going to be difficult, obviously, something of this nature, and obviously depends on scale. But we've done it effectively, so it's a quick turnaround. We can do it in a few days. So the cost is not going to be like a full health check that's going to cost you, I don't know, £10,000, £20,000, etc. It's a low cost. And of course, there's efficient use of time. Like I said earlier, you can't expect a customer to go away and spend days and days and days trying to produce data for you to analyze. That's not going to keep a customer happy. So it's efficient use of time and minimally invasive. And ultimately, TCM, we're a standalone company, independent. We are experts in our field, and I think we've earned the right to call ourselves experts. Lastly, it can be seen, certainly if the senior management, a CFO, calls or something like this, that this is a witch hunt. That's absolutely not the case. This is just an analysis of a customer's system. And obviously, from their perspective, like I said earlier, it's something that's got to be easy. Who would actually really want to do it? It can be senior management. Certainly if they are a system manager that's been brought in that has no understanding of NonStop, but he's got a Linux system he needs to look after, maybe Microsoft, and NonStop's been bundled in. If he wants a first level indication of what he's actually taking on, this could be a good reason to run Insight. Say recently assumed responsibility for technology. Changes in team, I mean, we all know there's a lot of us reaching that age where we think, okay, it's time to retire. New people come in. Again, maybe that's another opportunity to run Insight, new personnel. And companies will always look for that continuous improvement. Even though, say, a NonStop system is ticking by, everyone thinks it's okay, but because of continuous improvement, sometimes NonStop does get forgotten about because it's that scary thing that sits in the corner of the room, but something like this will bring that into mainstream. And of course, system managers. System managers may want to run Insight just to see how their own systems are actually running. And that's part of their independent, personal continuous improvement. Again, it's not a witch hunt. We see this as a tool which system managers can use to basically, hopefully, improve their lives, their working lives. And obviously, confirmation of competence. Every system manager would like TCM to turn up, run something like this, and there'll be greens across the board. It's confirmation of what they're doing is actually really good. And of course, we all look for that justification. Justifications, as I say, to make sure that we are doing things. There's that warm blanket, isn't it? So I know that I've probably gone through this pretty quick, but we also have obviously got the SimSwap program that we need to show you. So just quickly, the summary of benefits, excuse me, and assurance. That's primarily what this is about. We can provide tangible proof of either red, amber, green, and is a clearly identified path to best practice. And obviously, something we always want to do is improve. So, how do we actually get it? I can see everyone's on the edge of their seats. Everyone's now leaning forward thinking, we need this. We really want this. How do we get it? The best way to go about it, I see those lovely people sitting in the back there, mostly on the right, but your HPE account managers, your NonStop team, they would be more than happy to have conversations. As I say, remember that when we put this thing together, we did it with our friends at HPE, and really it's to help them. That's why we did it. If for any other reason that you can't get hold of your account manager, then please, yes, absolutely come and speak to us directly. But the main route would be through our HPE friends. So before we move on to that, any questions? Non-technical questions, if there are any. Please.
Do you need to put this product or utility or whatever it is for the production environment?
Yeah, I mean, literally it's just a script. So we supply you with a script, you press the execute button, job done. That's my understanding. Anything more than that, I'm going to have to take you to the technical guys.
You put anything on production system, XML?
Yeah.
It's just trying to understand what is it that, how do we implement that in a production environment, and what kind of guarantees that HPE or TCM is going to give, so it's all green. It's for safety.
Absolutely. My understanding is it's a non-intrusive script. Literally all it does is just pull the...
I understand that.
Yeah.
Anything that your production manager will ask 1,000 questions.
Completely agree. To be honest, I think if it gets to that level, I think it would be more prudent to have that conversation. If you're talking to a manager of a production system, to give him the assurances that he requires. My belief is that's a technical to technical conversation, and that's probably best place to start.
Could we put that on the first system and provisioning when it doesn't work?
Absolutely we can. Yeah, definitely. Anything else? Okay, well, you're still awake, so that's a bonus. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to hand back to Ian. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. So the second part of our presentation is something completely different on NonStop and for TCM. We have developed an application and we've used dead good modern stuff to do it, and that'll be shown in the slides as we go along. So TCM Fraud Protection Service, SimSwap. It's self-explanatory, that slide. I'll do the intro. Chris will then come in and do some of the detail, and then I'll do the outro as well. I'm going to read this. It's in italics. It's a TCM SimSwap Fraud Protection Service. TCM SimSwap is a new business service designed, built and operated by TCM. We provide banks and payment processors, as customers with a timely defence against the growing issue of SimSwap fraud. Introducing TCM SimSwap. We provide this service in partnership with JT Global, a leader in the field of fraud protection services with direct access to M&O data. I have learned recently that you need a partner like this because mobile network operators only speak to other mobile network operators, and only certain mobile network operators have a relationship with the 900, is it? Something like 600 other mobile operators. And for this sort of thing to work, you have to be able to get into that relationship platform, I will call it. We've built it on a VNS platform using the latest development architecture and tools. That's a good schematic. And now we're going to move to Chris's slides, and he will now tell you what SimSwap fraud actually is and its prevalence.
This is complex stuff, right? It says next and back. It's made for me. Okay, good afternoon everybody, and thanks for turning up. Some familiar faces in the audience, which is really nice to see. My name is Chris Black, and I'm representing JT Global and also TCM, who I'm helping as part of JT Global to get SimSwap fraud protection to market. These slides have been put together by Daniel Craig, who is the head honcho in TCM, and he seems to like clicking, so he only reveals one little thing at a time. So what is SimSwap fraud? Well, it's actually part of an initiative within PSD2 in Secure Customer Authentication, SCA. And this directive is designed to implement across Europe in the banks to prevent this. So one day your card gets declined, you try to access your mobile banking on your phone, you can't get reception anywhere. You're forced home to call your mobile network operator, logging onto your computer. The operator informs you that your SIM has been swapped from your phone. You explain that you didn't authorize a swap, and at the same time you finally access your online bank account to find the balance is zero. You'll start receiving messages of password changes and all sorts. And this is a victim of SimSwap fraud. I'm going to reveal all this. So effectively, the hacker finds your telephone number, puts a new SIM card in the phone, and then takes over your account and your life. And actually, it'll be dual messaging. So you'll be getting a message, and so will the hacker. This takes about 1 hour, so it's very quick, and it's very difficult to get any money back. Some statistics. I mean, really, it would be good to talk about some examples which are coming, but it doesn't really matter. So all UK banks have implemented this. All UK banks cover all retail transactions to check that a SIM is owned by the owner of the phone. And that's roughly about 1 million to 2 million checks per month. I think I'll talk about this, that's better. As Ian was talking about JT Global. So JT Global is a mobile network operator in its own right. It's based in Jersey, which you won't be surprised to know. But unusually, it's an aggregator too. And as Ian said, it has relationships with 600 mobile network operators across the globe. And what this means is that for a financial institution, they do not want to have direct relationships with MNOs. It's a complex area, it's a specialist area. And MNOs don't really want to have relationships with banks because that too is a complex area and very focused and specialist. So you need someone in the middle, and TCM is kind of the glue in the middle, and the slide later will show this. And so JT stands in front of all of the mobile network operators, and this is a very reasonably simply API-driven implementation. So we're actually working with a couple of banks to push this forward. And the example is, it can be anything to do with a mobile phone, whether you're buying something online, whether you're trading, whether you're buying crypto, if you want to change a password, any specific action with your mobile phone, the owner of the customer, if you like, only knows the mobile phone number. It doesn't know anything else. And what you need to know from detecting a SimSwap is the IMEI and the MSDN, these specialist names which we've heard of course. And so the request will come from the bank into TCM, which will be passed out to JT, who will determine whether there's been a SimSwap in X period, and that's definable. And the answer comes back, yes, no. If there has been, and the customer doesn't know, then that's discovered fraudulent activity. Recently implemented in a bank in Australia, because the UK is completely covered already. They discovered the first SimSwap within 2 weeks, estimated to save them $25,000 on that particular item, and over a whole year, $100,000. And they're looking to discover something like 100 to 200 a year. So these are big numbers that can be saved. So some examples, as I was saying, actually the UK banks, not only do they do real-time transactions, but also on a monthly basis they'll poll a quarter of their subscriber base just to check that SimSwap has or hasn't taken place. And they're able to contact the customer and take action positively. I think I've just done all this. So where we came from here is that JT asked me to come and help them because I come from the financial world. 10 minutes left. Okay, I'll be handing back in a minute. I come from the financial services world, and JT knows nothing about financial services. It's an MNO aggregator. So putting this together with Neil and HPE, and Neil introduced me to TCM, who are highly active and very modern in terms of their approach, and they actually built the platform, which is really cool. So that's ready to go, and now we're actively looking for more banks across Europe to pilot this with. And this kind of pictorially describes what I was talking about earlier on. So over here you have banks making requests, TCM handling the request by JT into the relevant mobile network operator. As you can imagine, there's a lot of them and a lot of different parts of data. So, and the simplicity of it is that it really helps banks reduce their fraud. SimSwap fraud is rife across Europe because the UK has got rid of it by implementing, right? So fraud is a bubble. You squeeze it here and it pops out over there. Any questions? Thank you.
Just the final few slides, but what convinced TCM? Chris spoke to us and he said that it's regulated in the UK, but within the EU, for whatever reason, it wasn't actually compulsory to do this until sometime later this year, or has it been delayed again? So there's a whole market there for it. It's not something, when you do this, you only earn a few cents, but you do it millions of times. That's the concept. It's excellent. It was excellent timing for us. It works. Banks are benefiting, and it was just an opportunity for us to diversify on what our normal comfort zone was, and we had the skill set to help us. It was easy. It's easy to deploy. It's inexpensive. there's massive savings for anybody who takes up the service, costs and reputation. A lot of us have worked with financial institutions, and we know fraud is often not reported. They sweep it under the carpet because it's embarrassing. And so that reputation is always very important to them. We have the skill and the experience. We had 2 challenges. We needed to find a system, and then we had to build an application from scratch. Our solution, build it on NonStop, because we're a NonStop company, and we built it on a virtual NonStop. We did it all internally. We asked around for advice. At the time, it was interesting to see Ian's slides this morning that they're trying to make it simpler to build virtual NonStop. But when we started this a few months ago, it wasn't easy. Building a VNS, it's flexible, affordable, gives it room to explore, and we were inspired by Vortex VNS story, which they provided at the virtual bootcamp, I think last year. What we built, a high-end virtual non-stop spec, 4 CPU, 2 storage CLIMs, a mix of SSDs and HDDs, 2 network CLIMs, and 1 VNSC. The bare metal, it was 2 HP ProLine, DL380s. DL380s have been going for a long time, haven't they? Generation 9, 920 single core CPUs with 192 gig of RAM. VMware is ESXi as hypervisor and vSphere to help VRO deployment VMs using HPE's packages. Some people in this room knows what that means. I'm not saying I do. This is what we have a program called Shiva. Shiva is actually on annual leave now. It's a long time booked, and he can't be here. But this is his slide, and some people in this audience will think this is wonderful. Other people like me, well, I know New Wave, the client and the server, REST API, C and C++, even I know what they are. Application code was used. Visual Studio Eclipse, it's all developed these days off the machine, isn't it? It's uploaded. Version control was Brandon. Was Git. And there's a Jenkins build and deploy tool. This is almost like you're in some sort of Microsoft session, isn't it, where they're telling you about their latest interesting database search engine. But this is all non-stop. And next steps are Ansible and Boost Test JUnit 5. Now, I really wish Shiva was here to stand here and talk about it, and I'm sure some of the audience love this. But a few years ago, you'd have never seen a slide like that in a non-stop presentation, would you? This would be a Microsoft thing, you know, Microsoft only, but there we go. Paul's looking doubtful. He's going to say, actually, on this date, it's 4 years ago. Anyway, the advantage of modernized application is it uses latest industry standard tools, ease of use and maintenance of application, access to a large pool of skilled resource, non-stop specific experience not required. Shiva is a developer who is familiar with non-stop, but it's not his base skill. He started off as a developer and came to non-stop, rather than came to non-stop and then was a developer. It's portable. The initial deployment is complete. Looking to begin trials with potential customers. We're targeting banks in Europe. PSD2 compliance is about to become compulsory. And we will offer preferential terms for early adopters. What's next? Work with the banks to deploy solutions, continue development as we see it. We've link tested with JT some months ago. Began the testing. Feedback from early trials, I mean, it works. More in-depth technical presentation later in the year. Our journey, we will expand on this. And we'll talk about our experience of the VNS and modern application build on NonStop. So, if you want to contact us, speak to us about it, contact TCM. We've got a specific email address there, fps@tcm.uk.com. But you can get in touch with any of us and we'll deal with it. And then there are links for the general non-stop services. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Did you have specific reasons
Well, we wanted to try, yeah. I mean, we are a non-stop company, but we also have an eye to the future. We've been wanting to get into tool development for a while, but the market is pretty, this is application as far as we're concerned. And we wanted to do it, and it just fell together. It was very difficult at first. I don't know the Grant's here. Grant helped us with some documentation which he'd done. And one or two other people. I believe there's a lot more documentation about now. But when we did this, he just worked out how to do it on his own by Google. And I think IEEE helped him. You know, he spoke to them, and there's different levels of expertise there. But we have a VNS. We're a partner, so we benefit from development license costs. But in terms of the hardware and anything, we bought it all ourselves. Any other questions? Thank you very much for listening.